Hey there, I'm Sarita, and you're about to experience the modern approach to well-being where you get to establish the best and most important relationship you will ever have, the one with yourself. I'm on a mission to help you declutter energy and reclaim your power so you can be a magnet to what you desire. If you're looking for the optimal blend of mindset and healing, you're in the right place. My goal in this podcast is to share tools, resources, and practices that will help you along your healing journey. I'm so excited to be here with you today, so welcome to Back to Here with Sarita. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to the very first abundance chat of this year. I'm super excited that you're here with us today, and I have my first guest of 2024. I'm super excited to introduce you to her. This is Misty, and a brief introduction about Misty is Misty Laboy is a master makeup artist, weight loss advisor, and self-love mentor. And her journey began selling cosmetics to put herself through college and support her family. And then along the way, she discovered her passion for helping women transform inside and out. And despite achieving success in her career, she actually struggled with weight until she found that diets don't work, but lifestyle changes do. This realization led her to the top 2% of her company and a mission to help others shed pounds and gain confidence. Then in 2020, she hit a low point and embarked on a spiritual self-love journey, healing addiction, and finally finding inner fulfillment. And now she empowers women to discover their worth beyond appearances and embrace their own self-love journey. Oh my goodness. Missy, thank you so much for being here today. You're like literally right up my alley and also my audience's alley. So I love what you're doing. I can't wait to hear more about it. Yes. So as you know, and as my audience knows, this year's theme for 2024 is about abundance. And so we'll kind of intertwine that in there. But of course, there's a lot of other things I would love to cover, especially how you came to where you are now, which is the most beautiful journey that I love sharing on these podcast episodes with my supporters and with my viewers and with my audience, these stories of women who have become who they are and most authentically where they are at this moment. So I would love to find out, because you have such an eclectic background, and I love it that it's all really funneled into this self-love journey and becoming a self-love coach. So I would love to hear from you kind of what inspired you to jump into that area, and what are some hurdles that you went through?
Yeah, sure. So for me, I felt like I had checked all the boxes and did all the right things. I graduated from high school and I went to a 4-year college to be a school teacher, and I got married and bought a house and had the 2.5 children. I did all the things and I was still feeling very unfulfilled. And life went on like that for quite a while. And I just thought maybe this is what it's supposed to be like. Maybe I'll never truly be happy. And it wasn't until, a few years later that I kind of had the opportunity to dive deeper into it. And I felt like I had this, what I refer to as a God-sized hole. And I tried to fill that hole with food and shopping, retail therapy, alcohol, you name it, and nothing quite seemed to work. It was a Band-Aid. And it wasn't until really during the pandemic when I had time to do a lot of self-reflection and a lot of work on myself that I learned that void could only be filled with self-love. And once I got radically honest with myself and fully accepted myself, the good, the bad, the ugly, I was able to start this self-love journey, and it became so fulfilling and rewarding. I realized, this is what has been truly missing from my life. And my mission is to just share that with other women and for them to realize, the self-love that is missing in their own life.
I love that. Oh my goodness. I feel like so many of us actually went through such a transformational period during 2020, during lockdown, and we were forced to go deep, go a
Mm-hmm.
lot deeper, right?
Yeah.
We were forced to go inward because there wasn't really we didn't have like the distractions of all the things that were happening outside, and so it was a natural, like, kind of a little bit of a shove, universal shove, God shove, to help us get go a little bit on the deeper end. So I wanted to backtrack a little bit, and I absolutely love that, and the self-love coaching and the self-love journey. That's part of what I've been all about as well, just finding those parts of myself, and I'm sure you relate and people that are listening relate, but finding the parts of myself that didn't disappear, but they had just been covered up, or
Yes.
put beneath the surface, or I had been told that they weren't important about myself, or I was told to dim my light in certain circumstances. So unearthing and discovering that. So backing up a little bit before we get into that, I would love to hear like just more about how you got into like the makeup and the art and like the beauty aspect of your business, and also like what that specific business is. It sounds like you're doing really well in the makeup industry and helping support your family, and that's amazing. So I'd love to backtrack just a little bit more to find out how that's played a part in your development.
Yeah. So when I was in college, I was going to school to be an art teacher. So I've
Oh,
always had an
cool.
affinity for art, and although I was raised a tomboy, I wasn't really a girly girl. And I had somebody introduce me to makeup. I had someone invite me to do a facial and a makeover, and I thought, I
How
don't know how
fun.
to put on makeup, so that would be something fun for me to try, something new for me to learn. And I went and I loved applying makeup. I loved how great I felt when I looked in the mirror. And I thought, you know what, I could do this. It is an art. It's a different type of art, but it's still an art.
Yes.
And I was teaching too. So I was able to teach other women how to take care of their skin and also do makeup. And, it's so rewarding when they looked in the mirror and they were like, wow, and I
Mhm.
shared that passion with them and excitement with them. And from then, I fell in love with helping people transform. And it was all about the before and after, and them feeling empowered that they could do it themselves. That was very, very rewarding to me. And I did that for about 10 years. And I was in Mary Kay Cosmetics. I did really well, earned a pink Cadillac, and was in the top
Ooh,
2% of the
congrats.
company. And I loved helping women also start businesses and be able to be a stay at home mom while still making extra income, because that was what I was doing. So I was just sharing, what was working for me. And I would say, though, after about 10 years of that, um, it wasn't serving me anymore because my schedule had changed. My children were then in school, they weren't babies anymore. So I found I had a lot of free time during the day. And not that long after, I was introduced to a weight loss company, a nutrition company actually, Isogenics, and they sell amazing products that helped me to lose 65 pounds and keep the weight off. So
Wow.
again, it was all about transformation. And so many women came to me, so many of my clients were like, well, what are you doing? How did you lose this weight? So I just shared what I was doing. And, then it became about the weight loss transformation. And I thought, wow, I can help women transform in more than one area. So I was doing makeup and doing weight loss for, up until the pandemic, when I was just feeling called to teach people to love, but didn't know what that looked like. And it wasn't until I really kind of dug into myself and really started to understand why I was the way I was, dug into childhood trauma and our cycles and our subconscious thinking and all those things that really made me realize, I thought I loved myself because when I looked in the mirror, I liked what I saw. Physically, I was able to put my face on and I had lost the 65 pounds and was able to keep it off. But self love is so much deeper than surface, so much deeper than the
Yes.
appearance. And I realized that although I liked myself, I loved myself physically, internally, I was still struggling with who I am and who I was portraying that I am. I felt like I had a lot of parts of me that were kept hidden. And Out of shame, out of fear of judgment, all these things came up. And, getting radically honest with myself, I thought, I can't truly love and embrace myself while keeping these things hidden. So,
Yes.
that led into another transformation, and being able to share with other women, especially out there, some of the lifestyle changes that I chose. I'm in an open marriage, and I'm also in a polyamorous relationship. So for
Oh,
me, I
wow.
believe that love is an abundant resource, and I had a lot
Yes.
of love to give, and I felt like, why do I have to choose one person to give my love to? We have millions of people on this planet. Why is it that I can only choose one and choose one for the rest of my life? That never really resonated with me. But again, because of the fear of judgment and the shame around that, I had to keep that part of me hidden. And once I got radically honest, and I had a long conversation with my husband about these beliefs that I had. He shared similar beliefs, but it wasn't something that we ever had really talked about or really discussed. So that led into just really us kind of testing the waters around our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 8 years ago, and it has made our relationship even stronger now. And, I've been open about it on social media. So I get a lot of people coming to me like, oh, wow, you have a husband and a boyfriend. How does that work? You know,
Oh, wow.
it works,
Yeah.
you got to find what works for you and be authentic and true to yourself. And one of my core values was freedom. And for
Mm-hmm.
so long, I was stifling that freedom, and I was self abandoning. I wasn't being true to myself. And during my self love journey, all that came up and came out. And, I feel like now I'm truly living a much more authentic life. And I'm able to share that with other people and help other people transition as well.
I absolutely love that. And thank you so much for sharing. And it was because of you choosing and deciding yourself that allowed you to open up that window of opportunity to create more abundance of love in your life, regardless if it was coming from, a significant other, a husband, a boyfriend. You have been able to open up the floodgates
Yes.
through, like, you're the vessel that opened all that up. So that is such a beautiful story and so amazing. And I relate very heavily to, I was a tomboy when I was little. And that's been part of who I've been for my whole life. It's kind of like the girl next door personality. I have like some
Hmm.
girly aspects to this day. To be honest with you, I'm not very good at putting on makeup. I still watch
You're beautiful.
tutorials. Thank you. I still watch tutorials and am still blown away about people's ability to do that. So I definitely want to talk about the aspect of the self love and especially the open marriage and relationship you have, because that is such a beautiful aspect of being able to be the self love goddess that you are, to be able to have those entities going on around you.
Hmm.
To back up just a little bit, I feel like this is kind of a theme that I've noticed in talking to people that have been on my podcast before, and then also other entrepreneurs or people that have decided to go on their spiritual journeys, is that it kind of started with the outwardly, like the outward beauty, the outward, like, the outer appearance, and
Hmm.
then we most of the time venture inside in that transition. For yourself, what was, I don't know if you remember like a moment or a time and when you're like, this is more than skin deep, like I feel like I'm this is something that I know that is not just a superficial layer of, like, putting on the makeup and the fitness and the weight loss, because that's like, I this is my belief, my feeling is that that's like the cherry on top, right? That's
Right.
the icing on the cake, right? Like that's the result of doing like a little bit more deeper work. But when people are doing even more deeper level work, like I feel like there's even like you can tell. I mean, you can tell when someone is like, I mean, I could tell the minute like I saw your information, I was like, she radiates this. I could tell by your energy, right? You can tell when people are
Mm-hmm.
doing deeper level work when you are talking with them or they enter in a room. You just their vibe is different. So for you, like, what was if there was like a defining moment, was there something that kind of helped you realize, wow, this is like so much deeper than just like the surface?
Yeah, I mean, I was on my spiritual journey, and a friend actually invited me to a spiritual ceremony, an ayahuasca ceremony.
Ooh, amazing.
Yeah,
Girl,
and
you've done everything. That's awesome.
I had heard about plant medicine, but I had never tried it, and I was curious about it. And we had to set intentions prior to the ceremony, and they say that you get what you need, not what you want, which is so true. And
Yes, so true.
I was not in the best places in my relationship, so I was going into that ceremony with intentions of healing this relationship. And what I got was just so much self love and the realization that I am enough and that I don't need everything that I need is within me. That message came through just so loud and clear. And I just knew after that I had to be radically honest. And for me, that meant radically honest with myself and with others, but it also meant taking off the mask and not being
Yes.
afraid of judgment anymore. It was just like I tell people all the time. Even though I lost 65 pounds, the best weight that I've ever lost was the weight of other people's opinions.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
So true.
And it's so true, the freedom that comes with that. And, it comes with the security of knowing who you are and knowing your truth and standing firmly in it. And once I got to that point, I realized no one else's opinion of me matters more than my own opinion. And I was able to just release so much, so much guilt and so much fear of judgment, and finally, give myself permission to be my true authentic self.
Mm,
And that made all the difference.
that's so beautiful. That's something hmm, that just lands with me so deeply because there's still parts of me that I feel like I'm personally hiding as well, for a little fear of like, what are they going to say? Like, I'm going to ruffle some feathers. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
really going to get, I'm going to get people talking in a way that, and, but at the same time, I'm a disruptor. I've always been one since I was little,
Mm-hmm.
meaning like I get people to kind of think outside the box. Like, I'm not the usual, you look at me like
Right.
you would expect a certain thing, but it's a little different when you get to know me. So, it lands with me really deeply, and I love how you keep saying like being radically honest with yourself, because I've used the word radical before, and if you break down the word radical, it's comes from the word in Latin root, like rooted. So
Mm-hmm.
rooted in honesty, rooted in self love, rooted in the belief that these things are really important, rooted in authenticity. And it's through these experiences that I love that we've been able to unpack, and I saw this. This is not my original wording, or and I read this somewhere, but it's like basically as an adult, you're basically undoing all the aspects of you that you learned as a child, right? Like you talked
Yeah.
about the subconscious and our experiences as children and things like that, and it's an interesting. It's like the deeper you go, the more you realize about yourself and things. So um, I absolutely love that, and so it just really resonates and lands with me with the authenticness and the rooted in these beliefs that are so important for us. And I love how you said to releasing the weight of other people's opinions. It's so interesting how we base so much of like what we say and what we do on the thoughts and beliefs of others, when in
Mm-hmm.
reality those things are not important at all. So with your ayahuasca, I love that you had that like awakening. People have had some amazing. I've yet to do ayahuasca. I've done other types of plant medicine, but I love that you had that awakening with ayahuasca. And so from there, the self love journey, we'll go back to that because I want to talk a little bit more about like where you
Mm-hmm.
are in this moment now. But with the self love journey and all that, the realization of like seeing yourself like physically, like yeah, I see what I like in the mirror, and going on the inner parts of that. When you're talking with people, with your clients, or with people you've are in connection with, when it comes to that, when people say like, "Oh yeah, like I love myself," but you were talking about lifestyle changes, and I would love to see those, like how you intersect those two, because we can say one thing, we can say the affirmations in the mirror, we can say I love myself, and yet it's not landing, it's not sticking. And so it's like, what are some of the things that you've advised some of the people that you connect with on, like really helping them to get a lot more rooted in that belief
Sure.
of themselves?
Um, I mean, and again, kind of going back to radical honesty, for me, radical honesty was fully accepting myself. In order to fully love myself, I had to fully accept myself, the good, the bad, the ugly. I had to own my shit, really.
Mm-hmm.
And once I did that, I found people couldn't use it against me. So the opinions of others didn't matter. I was able to let those opinions go because I already owned that about myself. Something as silly as I'm a very messy person. You know, I own that about myself, so no one can say that against me. I own the thickness of my body. I own my curves. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I I embody and embrace all that is me, and no one can hurt me with that. So that's how you're able to let go of people's opinions. I think when we're younger, we get a chip on our shoulder and we say, like, I don't care what anyone thinks. But when deep down we really do, we care a
Yes.
lot what other people think. Because we're in such fear of judgment. But when you own it all, you can't be judged for it because you've already judged yourself for it. You just own it. So that makes a huge difference. So when I'm working with my clients, we spend a week working on self acceptance and really learning to love all of yourself. It doesn't mean that you love yourself and you're not willing to make changes. For example, for me being overweight, I still loved myself even overweight, but it doesn't mean that I couldn't work to improve. It doesn't mean I couldn't work to make changes, but you have to love yourself where you're at to be able to make those changes, and especially to be able to sustain those changes.
Yes, I fully agree. I love that. And for the thing I was thinking about was specifically when like thinking about other people and my journey myself this past year, especially, it really came to the surface. Like I think it was one of those things where we know something like in a more logical way, but yet we don't necessarily understand it in a way that our body understands until maybe we experience it, and then it really lands with us. We're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's what that means, right? So for me, one of the things that was a big awakening around the self-love, and going back to what you're talking about with other people's opinions and thoughts about you, was that I was looking for not only validation from people around me to get to fulfill me, but I was also looking this was one of my patterns that I realized as I grew up and in adulthood, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like 40 some years old, and I'm like just figuring this out, but realizing that I was looking for completion in somebody else, completion in my business, or completion in what somebody was saying about me to validate me, to make me feel whole again, like that completeness, right? And that
Yes.
was such a huge awakening for me, where I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm complete on my own by myself without needing anybody in my life. And not saying that I don't need connections and stuff, but like I'm complete on my own by myself. And I realized that was a pattern that I had created over and over again with like not only men, but like even friends and like my business, even social media. My goodness, there were times when I'd post on social media and get like very down on myself, like, oh, no one's interacting with me. Oh, like, and there was these feelings of incompleteness would come up. So that's like part of my personal self-love journey. I don't know if that resonates with you, but
Yeah, but for me, it was more about looking for external happiness.
mm-hmm.
You
Right.
know,
You're
I
talking
was
about that with the
looking
shopping and
for
stuff.
men. I had this void, this hole inside me. I was looking for men to fill it. And I had this unrealistic expectation that one person could do that for me. One person could meet all my needs, and one person, and I was constantly feeling like, well, I need more than one person. I need more than one person. And then I realized, that that wasn't a realistic expectation, and that happiness is an inside job. No one can make you
Yes.
happy. You have to make yourself happy. You have to be happy with who you are first. So that was a huge realization.
I love that. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, and you were talking about that with the you were what was it you said? Like the void? You were
Yeah, the
talking about
void
that?
inside, the God
Yeah.
sized hole.
There
Yeah.
you go. That's what it was. The God size hole. I think that's that was like I saw that image. I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I relate to that. So when it comes to, and I would love to talk about this, and this is like really exciting because bringing these. I had a sex therapist type coach come on in November last year,
Okay.
and she was talking about radical self love through her like physical experiences with tantric like sex, and it was really beautiful. And I love, like I said, I'm a disruptor, so I love bringing people on who are breaking the boundaries, all
Mm-hmm.
that. So I love that you shared that you are in an open marriage, and going back to abundance chats and the abundance, what you were saying, like abundance is in plethora, in all around, right? And so the conversation that you said that you had with your husband, where you came to the table and were saying like, these are some of the beliefs that I'm realizing, and like I realized not only about the marriage, but also just in general around love. And then I've done the self-love journey, and I've been on this journey and this path, and sharing the love. Like, how is that like transition in general, going from being so authentic with yourself and having that, okay, and realizing that, okay, like I'm there, like I'm good, I'm like having these conversations with self, and now I get to not only maybe share this with my audience or my clients, but also like, let's take this like a little bit, more, and like really experience more abundance of love, like through conversation with my husband and all that. So how was that transition from the self to even more like outwardly?
Yeah, I mean, I had always struggled with abandonment issues, and that's kind of what kept me a lot in fear of being honest and sharing these thoughts with my husband. And I had a pattern of trying to push him away. It was that self fulfilling prophecy. He's going to leave anyway. Everyone always
Mm,
leaves. That story that you tell yourself.
yeah.
And we've gone. Started to notice this pattern that we had. And when I came to him with this radical honesty, and I said to him, we need to have this talk. Are you open to it? Can I speak honestly and freely? And he was like, yeah, like lay it on me. And I got done everything, and he was kind of like, is that it? And I was thinking, well, I just dropped a bomb on him. Is that it? And he was like, okay. He was like, I can handle this. Like we can handle this. And thank you for being honest with me and talking to me. And I got, for the first time, I think I gave myself the permission to be completely vulnerable with someone. And
Mm-hmm.
I, I will tell you that sex with vulnerability, when you put the two of them together, it's a whole different world. And I didn't realize I was missing intimacy that could only be created through vulnerability.
Love that.
And that was
Mhm.
life changing. You know, my husband and I were able to connect on such a deeper level. And of course, he stayed. And, you know, that helped to heal my abandonment issue. I thought, you know, nothing I could do or tell this guy is going to make him ever leave if he can, you know, deal with me wanting a boyfriend. And, you know, we've been able to work through so many issues and grow together as a couple as well as individuals. You know, a lot of things come up. You know, for example, people always say, you know, like, how do you deal with the jealousy? How does he deal with the jealousy? You know, he doesn't currently have another partner, but he does date other women and he does have other lovers. You know, how do you deal with that? It comes from security and in knowing my worth. You know, true abundance is not based on your net worth. It's based on your self-worth.
Yes.
So
Amen to
once
that.
I realized my self worth, you know, I really deep down believe that no woman is a threat to me, no man is a threat to him. You know, when you're together out of choice, you know, we choose each other every day, even though we have the freedom to choose other people, you know, it creates a whole different level of intimacy and connection.
I love that. Oof, that reminds me of the episode that I did in November, and that's so true. And that's what we seek as human beings. I realize there's this whole dynamic shift that's really happening in our society, and I believe that really started during 2020. Is people are craving so much more intimacy and connection with each other than ever before. Yet unfortunately, we live in a very superficial society. But also, there are people like you, like me, that are creating avenues, creating ways to want and create more like intimacy dynamics. So I love that, and that you shared, and I've shared this before too, and I truly believe this, that love in general is the gateway to that is vulnerability, yes, and courage and vulnerability. I read a lot of the Brene Brown, and she talks about
Mm-hmm.
courage and vulnerability, those two like sisters, they go hand in hand. And so, and to create these deep connections with people, and it doesn't necessarily need to be sexual. It can be like with your best friend, it could be with, you know, somebody that you meet when you're, you know, doing a client, you know, client service, or even when you're going out shopping, you know, having those intimate moments, creating the vulnerability and showing your authenticity and showing like who you really are as a person. So I love that you have created so much more an abundance of love in your relationship. Not only the abundance of love with having other people within, you know, the relationship, but also within your own, like, you know, original dynamic of your husband and yourself, creating more intimacy because of your vulnerability, because of your self-love, because of you wanting to go deeper, because of like you valuing your worth and your value.
Yeah. And for me, you know, talking about abundance, I feel like when you align with love, that's when you can really tap into true abundance. Get into alignment with love, with self love that just radiates to others. And that's how you tap into abundance.
I love that. That's so true. That reminds me of Gabby Bernstein. She says something to that effect. When you align with love, you become not only like you become an attractor of that very thing that you actually desire, which most of the time for us is love. And I learned this in leadership a couple years ago, that we do like, as we learn this as children very early on, like the minute we're born, literally, and as we become toddlers and all the things, is that we are doing our actions that we do when we interact with people and all. We do things to receive love, get or receive love. We're either like it's a cry out for love, or we're
Mm-hmm.
giving love. Literally, it's like, you know, those are the two dynamics that are going on. We're either like giving or trying to receive love, like
Right.
everything that we do in this life. So I love that. I love that.
You break it down pretty simply, but yeah, I mean that's what it's all about.
Yeah. So, I love that you brought in the abundance again, and I just want to ask you personally, like, what for you? I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. Last year, the question was, what is self-love to you? So this year, the question is for, you know, my guess is like, what does abundance mean to you? And you kind of said it a little bit, but I would love for you
Mm-hmm.
to expand on that. What does abundance mean to Misty?
So, when I was younger, abundance was money and possessions. And as I've grown older, I realize there's so much more to abundance. For me, abundance now is in health, love, happiness, and peace of
Love it.
mind. And the
Mm.
freedom to be my authentic self. For me, that is abundance.
Oh, I love that. Freedom too. I fully agree. I love that answer. And freedom, you had mentioned this before, freedom is like one of your core foundational beliefs. Me as well.
Hmm.
Freedom is tied to my happiness. For me, being able to work wherever I want, to go wherever I want, to explore, to enjoy, like my like as a child and growing up, my biggest fear was like somebody just not allowing me to be like who I am authentically. And I realized looking back, I'm like, oof, I kind of attracted some partners that did that exact thing where they
Hmm.
didn't allow me to be who I
Or we do it
authentically
to
am.
ourselves.
Exactly. Yes, I did it to myself, right? And I know this about myself now, being an intuitive person and being self-reflective, I understand and see, okay, like I can still love the version of myself that did that, right? Because I didn't know any better. Like I can love that person, I can love that version of me. And yet now I understand that's a pattern and now I'm not, going forward with that. But yes,
Hmm.
freedom is and I love what you said, peace of mind too, being able to have the vitality and the wellness and like the well being is really tied to that. I love that.
Definitely.
So, Misty, I would love to ask you, as we're kind of coming to the end of our session here, and you've provided so much information. I love it, and I love your story, and I love how everything that you've done and experience has brought you to this amazing place where you are, and I know that you are giving so much to the people that you are coaching and connecting with on a daily basis. And for those people that perhaps are having some challenging times maybe with some of the things that you've experienced, if it's like the weight loss or if it's the self-love or it's the outwardly experience, if it's like not having the not feeling like they have the tools and resources, what are some words of wisdom that you have for them in this moment?
The best advice that I can give you is, it may sound cliche, to follow your heart, but to genuinely do the things that bring you joy and make a conscious effort every day to do more of that. More things that bring you joy. Say yes to the things that you want to say yes to and say no to the things that you don't. Let go. People pleasing was so last year. We're not doing that in
Right?
2024.
Oof, girl, no.
It's
Mm-mm.
really not, does not serve you. So, if you want more abundance in your life, you need to do more of the things that bring you joy.
I love that. Amen to that. And that's cute. Yeah. People pleasing is like so last year, people. Not doing that this year. I love that. And yes, thank you so much for all the joy that you radiate on this. So for people that are not seeing this on YouTube, she is like just smiling through the whole entire episode. So I love that. So you have a really beautiful smile and you
Thank you.
radiate so much self-love, and I can tell that you've been doing the work and you've done the work, and this is like your passion as well. It's not just that. It's like that you are like, I want more people to feel like this, right? And that's
Yeah.
what I think is so beautiful about being a coach, being an entrepreneur, being like somebody who's making moves and doing things out in the world, is that we want more people to experience what we've experienced because it's so profound and amazing. And
Yes.
I love that.
Thank
Love
you.
that. Thank you so much, Missy, for being with us today. And I will have her information in the show notes so you can connect with Misty
Yeah.
on
I have
social
a free
media and
self love
everything.
quiz that I would love for you to take. If you're, this is you can go to mistylaboy.com, and the self love quiz will reveal your biggest self love block or lock that's keeping you from fully loving yourself. So I would love for you to take that. And, that's where you can start your self love journey. If you need a starting point and you need to learn, more about yourself, this is a great way to do it.
Love it. Yes, I'm going to do that too. The self love quiz. That is amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you. And I'll have that link below in the show
Okay.
notes for anybody that would love to take that quiz. And I said, connect again with Misty. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much, Misty. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Hey love, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you adored what you heard, it would mean the world to me if you took a moment to leave a review on the platform you are listening to this episode on. By doing this, you are helping my mission to impact other women with their healing journeys. If you aren't already following me on social media, make sure to connect with me at Sarita Wellness to get your weekly dose of inspiration. I can't wait to be with you in the next episode, but in the meantime, keep being the amazing you that you are.